Hello there, and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time, welcome. I hope you will enjoy the video currently showing, and please leave your comments below after viewing. If you enjoy the video, please like and subscribe to my channel, for there will be more videos to come. And thank you for your interest. Welcome to Corbridge, in Northumberland. In this video, we will travel across Corbridge, whilst learning about some of the history and observing some of the sights of this beautiful place. Corbridge Village, or tiny town that encompasses delightful streets and stone houses, is one of the most beautiful places in Northumberland. It lies only 2 miles east of Hexham, being that it's smaller. It is situated on the northern bank of the Tyne, rather than the south side of the river. Corbridge is often described as a village, but has the feel of a tiny town with its own marketplace and town hall. For centuries, it was a place of considerable importance, being the site of a Roman town called Corstorpetum, which is located to the west of present-day Corbridge. Later, Corbridge became an important Anglo-Saxon settlement that served as one of the royal centres and capitals of Northumbria. It also continued to be a place of importance in later medieval times, being home to 4 churches. Its vulnerable location was at the mercy of raiding Scots, who often plundered the Tyne Valley. Roman Corbridge. A Roman fort was first built at Corbridge around 77 AD by the Roman governor of Britain called Julius Agricola, and controlled the river crossing of the Tyne at one of the lowest fordable points. The fort was located near the river in the Red House Hocks area, about half a mile west of the more familiar Corbridge Roman site of today, but was abandoned around 86 AD, perhaps due to flooding. A new fort was then built at the present Roman site near the Corburn. It was here that Deer Street crossed the Tyne. From Corbridge, Deer Street was linked to the forts of Ebchester and Lanchester to the southeast. Beginning at Corbridge and running west along the Tyne Valley was another Roman road known today as the Stanegate, also known as the Stone Paved Way, which was built before Hadrian's Wall. It marked the initial northern border of the Roman advance, and Corbridge became the heart of the Roman frontier. The early fort at Corbridge was burned down around 105 AD and replaced by a new one, which was associated with the development of the Stanegate frontier. When Hadrian's Wall was completed in 122 AD, Corbridge lay within the protection of the wall's hinterland. The Tyne provided further protection for Corbridge to the south. A new phase in Corbridge's development began with the northward advance of the Emperor Antonius Pius to a new frontier and the short-lived Antonine Wall between the Clyde and the Forth. During this time, the Roman site at Corbridge rapidly expanded, as it became a major military base and agricultural supply centre for the campaign and advance of Rome into Caledonia. Corbridge was not located on Hadrian's Wall, but was 2 miles to its south. From Corbridge, Deer Street continued north and served as an important route for the Roman advance. It passed through the Stackshore Bank area and crossed Hadrian's Wall through a gateway at Poorgate, near the fort of Haltonchesters, and then continued onward into Ridsdale to the fort of Risingham. From there it continued its journey north to Tremontium, in the Eildon Hills, in what is now Scotland. At Poorgate, another Roman road, known today as the Devil's Causeway, joined Deer Street and headed off in a northeasterly direction across Northumberland as far as Spittal near Berwick-upon-Tweed. These roads all emphasized Corbridge's important strategic location. After the Antonine Wall was abandoned around 160 AD, Corbridge developed into a legionary base, serving the whole eastern half of Hadrian's Wall, as well as forts beyond the frontier to the north. The Romans called Corbridge Corstopetum, or Corius Opitum, and the place saw considerable expansion during this time, but continued to be an important supply base and center for granaries and warehouses. Later a market was developed. Corstopetum would have been a home to tradesmen and merchants, as well as the Roman legionary soldiers stationed in the military compound. By the early 200 AD, the Corbridge site was developing into a major Roman town and became increasingly civilian in nature, until the Roman abandonment of Britain in the 5th century. Excavations at Corstopetum began in 1906 and uncovered a number of interesting features, including temples dedicated to a number of different gods. It was a good reflection of the cosmopolitan nature of the settlement. The base of a Roman fountain was also found, that was originally decorated with statues, and it was fed by a small aqueduct. Like a number of other sites along the Roman frontier, Corstopetum now has an excellent museum with displays of Roman glass, pottery tools, military equipment, and even Roman board games. The Corbridge Lion is one of the museum's best-known exhibits. It is a sculpture of a lion devouring a stag, and was probably used to decorate a Roman officer's tomb at Corstopetum. Corbridge, in Anglo-Saxon times. In the centuries following the Roman departure from Britain, the importance of Corbridge continued, and in Anglo-Saxon times, it served as one of the capitals of Northumbria. It was the Anglo-Saxons who built the settlement of Corbridge on its present site, and constructed a monastery and church. They took stones from the neighboring Roman site to use as building material. They did not come, as might be expected, directly from Scandinavia or from the Viking kingdom established in Yorkshire at York. Instead, they came from the Norse-settled colonies of Dublin and the Scottish Isles. Whether they invaded along the Tyne from the west or from the east is uncertain. It was thought that one of the Corbridge battles has been confused through the mists of time with another invasion and battle involving Ragnald that was perhaps focused in the Tynemouth area. So there is some debate as to whether there were two battles or only one fought at Corbridge during this period. Historic Corbridge. In medieval times there were 3 other churches at Corbridge in addition to that of St. Andrew. There was a church of St. Mary, but the ruins of this were pulled down late 18th century, and a church of the Trinity which has long gone. On the north side of the village was a church dedicated to St. Helen, is now remembered in St. Helen Street. In the 12th and 13th centuries, Corbridge became a busy and wealthy town, but as a result suffered greatly from Scottish raiders looking to plunder. It was occupied by David I of Scotland in 1138. It was then burnt by William Wallace in 1296, and then by Robert the Bruce in 1312, and also by David II in 1346, prior to the Battle of Neville's Cross at Durham in 1644. During the Civil War, the Scots were routed in a skirmish at Corbridge by Royalist forces, under the command of Colonel Fenwick and Sir Marmaduke Langdale. In the early 13th century, King John had a fascination with Corbridge, and was convinced the town concealed treasures from a distant era. Perhaps inspired by the occasional discovery of Roman remains, he believed Corbridge had been a wealthy town in ancient times, that had been destroyed by an earthquake, and that there were buried treasures below the village waiting to be revealed. Despite digging in and around the Church of St. Andrew, he found nothing to satisfy his lust for riches. It was King John who granted Corbridge a charter and weekly market, and a fair in 1201. It was around that time that Corbridge was given to the Clavering family, but it passed back to the crown in the reign of Edward I. It was then given to the Percys during the reign of Edward III. The present-day village of Corbridge is centered on a little marketplace with an attractive market cross. The cross was erected by the lord of the manor, who at the time was Hugh Percy, Duke of Northumberland, in 1815. It replaced an earlier market cross, which stood on a Roman altar, in the center of the town for 600 years. The old cross can still be seen near the door of the former Vicar's Pele Tower, close to St Andrew's Churchyard, on the north side of the marketplace. The Vicar's Pele Tower at Corbridge was a fortified residence and a strong reminder of the constant threat of raids at Corbridge in times gone by. Situated near the corner of St Andrew's Churchyard, it was a three-story fortified house used by the Vicar of Corbridge as a defended residence and was built with around 1,300 Roman stones from the ruins of Corstopetum. The Pele was still lived in until the early 17th century and in later times served as a prison. Today the Pele is a lovely micro-pub and brewery called the Pele, which is situated in the heart of Corbridge. The Vicar's Pele is not the only surviving fortified house at Corbridge. At the east end of Main Street is Low Hall, which dates from about the 1600s and includes an attached tower house. Low Hall is described as the oldest house in Corbridge. Nearby, just across the road, is Monkholm, a beautiful Jacobean-style house that was once a pub called the New Inn. Corbridge is a lovely place to explore, with many fine streets of stone houses that are very appealing. So it is surprising to learn, in the 1700s and early 1800s, many observers commented on filth, middens and piggeries, and the unhealthy appearance of the people. However, improvements in standards were remarked upon in the 1820s when Corbridge was described as a large, populous and well-built village. Around 230 houses in 1821, and the principal occupation of residents seems to have been shoemaking, with the village supplying footwear for coal miners and other workers in neighboring districts. Hat making was also noted as a Corbridge trade. As the 19th century progressed, Corbridge seemingly became an increasingly attractive place to visit, and is described in the 1880s as one of the most picturesque and interesting of Northumbrian villages, as it still is today. By that time it had come to be noted as a health resort, where people resided or visited in an attempt to bring about improvements in health. One interesting feature in Corbridge, perhaps associated with this time, are numerous stone pants or drinking fountains. They include the Marketplace Pant of 1815 and Stackshaw Road Pant to the north. To the southeast along Main Street is the Main Street Pant, and in the adjoining Spoutwell Lane is the Trough of the Spout Well. This spring supplied water to a number of the Corbridge pants. Also of interest, near the west side of St Andrew's Church is a plaque marking the King's Oven. First recorded in 1310, this is where the villagers' bread and meat was baked in a communal oven when Corbridge was a royal borough. The oven was still used until the late 19th century. Today Corbridge has a good range of places to eat and drink, including old pubs and inns, such as the Angel, the former coaching inn, and postal stock dating to the 17th century. There's also a number of interesting and attractive independent shops in Corbridge, such as Forum Books, which occupies an old Methodist chapel on the edge of the marketplace. Other buildings of note around the village include Eastfield House, located in Main Street, one of Corbridge's oldest houses, and the Town Hall at the head of Hill Street. The Town Hall was built despite Corbridge's village status in 1887 by F. Emily to commemorate Queen Victoria's Golden Jubilee. From the early 19th century, Corbridge was the site of the Corbridge Pottery, also called Walker's Pottery, which was situated in a separate settlement in the countryside just north of the village. The pottery, which closed in 1910, made pipes, chimney pots, roof tiles, and also made bricks. Two impressive lime kilns of the pottery can still be seen at the site along Milkwell Lane to the north of the village. Of course, we cannot leave Corbridge without mentioning the bridge across the Tyne on the south side of the village. The original Roman bridge was upstream from here to the west near the Corbridge Roman site, but this had long since gone when a medieval bridge was built in 1235, replacing a ford and ferry. This bridge was subsequently replaced in 1674 by the present bridge, which consists of 7 stone arches. It was the only bridge on the Tyne from source to sea to remain standing following the devastating flood of November 1771. So high was the water during the flood that the confident Corbridge residents stood on the bridge and leaned over the parapet to wash their hands in the fast-flowing floodwaters of the Tyne. An interesting story connected to this bridge at the time of the Jacobite Rebellion of 1745 relates how the bridge was barricaded one night, with carts and wagons filled with dung to guard against Jacobite rebels after intelligence was received of rebel movements in the countryside nearby. Daylight revealed that the reported rebel movements were in fact a huge drove of Northumberland Kyloe cattle near the north side of the bridge. There is an interesting steep cobbled footpath called St. Mary's Chair, which is named from a former chapel. It links the bridge to the center of the village and is known locally as Bad Bank. Aden Castle. Situated about a mile north of Corbridge near the upper parts of the Corburn is Aden Castle, an impressive 13th century manor house, described as almost completely intact. Shortly after it was built, it was fortified to guard against raids associated with the troubles of the borderland. In a lovely wooded setting on a precipice which helps to enhance its defenses, Aden Castle is an attraction that deserves to be better known. Aden Castle historically belonged to the Balliols, then later the Adens, Wallace-Rains, Cranabys, Claverings, Carrs, Collinsons, Douglas and the Blackett families. The strong defenses of the manor certainly proved necessary, if not always effective, judging by some of the incidents in its history. It was burned and plundered by the Scots in 1315, taken by English rebels in 1317, and seized by the Scots in 1346. In the 1600s, it became a farmhouse, making it one of the most impressive fortified farmhouses in the land. Aden Castle was occupied until as recently as 1966. It is now an English heritage property. Part of the precipice on which Aden Castle is situated is known as Jack's Leap, though the reason for this is uncertain. One story is that it commemorates a lover who took a frantic leap in a moment of despair. Another is that a party of raiding Scots was surprised and routed here by Sir Robert Clavering, and that all the Scots other than the surviving Jack fell to their deaths. Riding Mill. From Corbridge the River Tyne meanders east, past Thornborough Wharf, and a site called Gallows Hill, situated near a spot called Bloody Acres, which is the supposed site of a Corbridge battle. These are positioned on the north side of the river. Over on the south side of the river from Thornborough Wood and its neighbouring quarries is the private land of the Farnley estate. Here there are wetlands and woodlands enclosed by a meander of the Tyne and the neighbouring Tyne Valley Railway line at Farnley Wharf. About 2 miles downstream from Corbridge is the attractive village of Riding Mill on the south side of the Tyne. Corbridge and Riding Mill are connected by both road and by railway, as each has its own station on the railway linking Newcastle to Carlisle. Riding Mill was historically simply called Riding and is a pleasant village with several stone houses. The village merges with neighbouring Broomhow on its east side, while to the west of Riding Mill is a little village with the fancy French-sounding name of Beauclair. The old mill house of the actual mill is alongside the main road at the east end of the village. It was a water mill operated by a mill race, connected to the burn near the rear of the house. A corn mill is known to have existed at Riding from medieval times. The burn itself is sometimes called the Riding Mill Burn, March Burn or Dipton Burn, though the last two of these in fact join together as forks of the main stream about 1.5 miles west of Riding Mill. Dipton, which also gives its name to a nearby wood, simply means deep dean. A pack-horse bridge, dating from around 1603, crosses the burn and was once used by locals who brought their corn to the mill for grinding. Across the road opposite the old mill house is the Wellington Inn, which has a date of 1660. Once known as Riding House in 1673, it was identified as a meeting place for a coven of witches by the accusative Anne Armstrong of Birch's Nook, whose ghost is said to haunt the inn. Another interesting building of note in Riding Mill is the village manor house of the 1600s, which lies at the west end of the village. A substantial private house, it is situated alongside the main road through the village and includes a castellated garden wall. Riding Mill or Riding was historically part of the parish of Bile St Andrew, and its name actually comes from Ridding, meaning a clearing. The present village church, dedicated to St James, dates to 1858 and was originally a chapel of ease for St. Andrew at Bywell, but became the parish church for Riding Mill in 1975. Just along the Tyne to the east of Riding Mill is a Northumbrian water pumping station. This lies at the northern end of a water distribution system that includes a 21-mile-long water tunnel and pumping system that links the Tyne to the River Wear and River Tees. A 4-mile-long pipe from Riding Mill links the Tyne to the tunnel, enabling water to be redistributed from the Tyne to meet shortfalls in the Wear and Tees. It was particularly useful for meeting the demands of the industries of Teesside much further down the valley. There are outfalls near Frostilly and Widdale and near Eggleston and Teesdale. Water is discharged into the North Tyne from Kielder Reservoir to compensate for water removed from the Tyne at Riding Mill. Bywell. About 2 miles downstream to the east of Riding Mill, but over on the north side of the river is Bywell. Situated within a neck and bend of the River Tyne, the name comes from Bydwella, meaning spring in the bend, from a nearby well. It was a place of some importance in distant times. There is only a handful of houses in the hamlet at Bywell, including Bywell Hall, a large house in private grounds on its west side. Bywell also includes a ruined castle near the river. By the 1820s, Bywell was described as a small, pleasant hamlet, formerly a place of some consequence, and at that time there were 20 houses including an inn. Though by the 1880s, the inn had become a house. Bywell Castle is a clue to Bywell's former importance, but perhaps the most remarkable thing about this little hamlet is that it's the home to not one but two impressive medieval churches that are only meters from each other and had served different parishes in times past. This may have caused some confusion, and for clarity, they were sometimes known as the Black Church and the White Church, to distinguish one from the other. The story is that once two sisters, who had a heated quarrel over who took precedence, and each founded a church that excluded the other. It is of course a legend. Nearest to the River Tyne is the Church of St. Peter, or the Black Church, which is early Norman, dating from the middle of the 11th century. It is thought likely that the church stands on the site of an earlier church of Anglo-Saxon times. Its parish, which was bounded by that of Blanchland, Slaley and Corbridge, extended as far south as Shotley, on the Northumberland side of the River Derwent near Shotley Bridge. The Church of St. Andrew, or the White Church, just to the north of St. Peter, is Anglo-Saxon in origin, and is thought to have been erected by St. Wilfrid around the 670s. Described as a first-rate Saxon west tower by Nicolaus Pesner, the lower part of the tower is early Saxon, and the upper part is thought to be late Saxon, dating from after 1000 AD. Bywell is mentioned in the Anglo-Saxon Chronicles as the place where Egbert was consecrated as the 12th Bishop of Lindisfarne by Archbishop Eanbald of York, but whether this consecration took place at the site of the Church of St. Andrew or at the probable predecessor of St. Peter is not known. Interestingly, the dedication of the Saxon Church to St. Andrew is the same as that of the Saxon Church at Corbridge, and of the Abbey at Hexham, which also has Saxon origins. St. Andrew's Church at Bywell, though no longer in use today, was home to a tiny parish, which included the farm of Burl to the north, along with the settlements of Styford, Riding Mill and Broomhow. However, through its association with Styford, it appears to have been the principal church of an extensive Norman barony, called Bolbec, which had Anglo-Saxon roots. By the 19th century, the two parishes were closely linked, and in the 1820s, it was noted that a single clergyman undertook the sermons for both churches, performing sermons in one church in the morning and the other church in the evening. Being close to the River Tyne, both churches were vulnerable to flooding and suffered some damage in the Great Flood of November 1771, when they were inundated by the river. Prized horses were taken into St. Andrew's Church for refuge, where the horses held onto the tops of the high pews, and one horse climbed onto the altar to avoid the floodwater. 10 houses in the village were swept away and 6 people lost their lives during the flood. The two churches were attached to two different Norman baronies, centered upon the Bywell area that had developed from earlier Anglo-Saxon estates. It is from the endowment of these churches to two different monasteries that they came to be popularly termed the Black Church and White Church. In Norman times, Bywell was the name of a barony that passed at the time of the Norman conquest from its Saxon owners to Guy de Balliol, who also owned Barnard Castle, which was then called Marwood in Teesdale. Along the Tyne, the barony of Bywell included nearby Ovington, Mickley and Acomb near Hexham, as well as some outlying places near the Northumberland coast, like Ellington, Cresswell, Newbegin, and Woodhorn, which are all in what is now the Ashington area. The Church of St. Peter at Bywell was the principal church of this particular barony, and in 1174, the Balliols granted the church as an endowment to the Priory of Durham Cathedral. Durham Priory was a Benedictine monastery whose monks wore black robes, and it was probably through this association that St. Peter's came to be known as Bywell's Black Church. The Balliols later forfeited their estates at Bywell and elsewhere in the reign of Edward I, due to a rebellion, and the barony itself passed to the Crown and then later to the Nevilles. Bywell was one of two baronies located between the Tyne and Derwent that were centred on the Bywell area. The neighbouring barony was the barony of Bolbec, which included Riding Mill, Broomhouse, Shotley, and Minster Ockers, as well as places further north such as Wallington, Shafto and Cammer, and places to the west like Heddon and Benwell. The Bolbec barony was known to the Anglo-Saxons as Styford, from a place just under 2 miles to the west on the north side of the Tyne opposite Riding Mill. Styford is halfway between Corbridge and Bywell, and home to Styford Hall, a house of about 1,800 staff. Nearby is Styford High Barns, a planned farm from around 1840, with an attached engine house. The name Styford means pathford, and there was likely an early river crossing here. The Norman name for the barony came from Walter de Bolbec, who was the founder of Blanchland Abbey in the Derwent Valley. His abbey, founded in 1165, was named from the white or blanche robes of the Premonstratensian canons, known in England as white canons. Walter granted the Church of St. Andrew at Bywell as an endowment to the Blanchland canons, and this is why the church came to be known as Bywell's White Church. From the 1400s, the baronies of Bywell and Bolbec passed from the Crown to the powerful Neville family of Raby, who were the Earls of Westmoreland, but their lands were confiscated following their part in the Rising of the North in 1569. This rising was a plot to overthrow Queen Elizabeth I. Bywell was then sold to the Fenwicks, who began a long association with the place, although the actual castle at Bywell, still incomplete, was built by the Nevilles. The castle in ruins dates from the 15th century and is an impressive turreted tower house and a gatehouse built with Roman stones that were presumably plundered from neighbouring forts on Hadrian's Wall. Henry VI is thought to have briefly sought refuge at this castle, following the defeat at the Battle of Hexham in 1464 during the Wars of the Roses. However, the notable Bywell Hall to the west of St. Andrew's Church was built for the Fenwick family around 1760. The noted architect James Payne built the hall on the site of an earlier house. The hall is not normally open to the public except by designated tours at certain times. To the north of Bywell there are 2 or 3 peculiar place names of note. They include the farm called Peepy, near the Beam Burn, and a house called Sod Hall, also near to that stream. On older maps of Peepy, it seems to have been called Peep I See Thee, and was about 1/4 of a mile north of another farm building called Seldom Seen, though this has now gone. To the northeast of Bywell is a rather large farm near Ovington, called Bull. It was originally Bear Hill, meaning Barley Hill. Stocksfield, Mickley, Cherryburn. Across the Tyne to the south of Bywell is Stocksfield Hall, and the nearby Stocksfield Burn, and to its south the village of Stocksfield itself. The two villages are linked by Bywell Bridge, which dates from 1838 and was built by the architect George Percival for T.W. Beaumont. The Stocksfield Burn and Stocksfield Hall lie close to the south side of the bridge. Stocksfield was part of the parish of St. Andrews at Bywell, but was something of an anomaly in that parish, as it was not historically part of the barony of Bolbec, and instead belonged to the Balliols. The Anglo-Saxon name means field belonging to a stock usually signifying a religious house of some kind, but whether this was one of the churches at Bywell, or perhaps Hexham Abbey, is not known. Adjoining Stocksfield to the south is Paintshaw Field, which is thought to mean field of the rocky summit. It was once just a couple of farmhouses near the Bat Burn, but now along with Stocksfield is the site of extensive modern housing developments, in pleasant settings with large gardens. An interesting quirky feature at Stocksfield is a group of giant pencils outside the Broomley County School, situated alongside the busier 695 road. These giant pencils are designed for safety. Country villages around Stocksfield to the west and to the south towards Ebchester in Consett in County Durham include Broomley, Old Ridley Hindley, and Headley on the Hill. A lay is usually a clearing where the names of these places respectively mean the Broom or Gorse Clearing, the Ridded Clearing, the Clearing of the Hind, and the Heather Clearing. Slightly further to the south, the village of Whittonstall on Deyers Street has a name that derives from Quicktunstall, meaning the homestead with a quickset hedge. The village is situated on high ground in Northumberland, halfway between the valleys of the River Derwent and the River Tyne. Ebchester is a village across the Derwent about 2 miles to the southeast, is just in County Durham. The village pub at Whittonstall is the Anchor Inn. Mickley, which means the Big Clearing. Just to the east of Stocksfield we find Cherburn, a cottage under the care of the National Trust. The cottage is situated close to a stream of the same name. Cherburn Cottage was named from the neighbouring stream, was the birthplace of the famed engraver and naturalist, Thomas Bewick from 1753 to 1828. Bewick began his trade as an engraver. He was apprenticed from 1767 to the engraver Ralph Bilby, with whom he later formed a partnership. Bewick was inspired by the landscape, nature and wildlife and people he encountered around Cherburn, and his woodcut prints are intricately detailed, being beautiful and often humorous. In 1784, Bewick published a number of beautiful woodcuts in his Select Fables with many of his pictures, sometimes designed for the entertainment of children, have great stories to tell. As a naturalist, Bewick is best known for the History of British Quadrupeds, a work written and illustrated by him in 1790, and the History of British Birds, written and illustrated between 1797 and 1804. He is also noted for giving his name to the Bewick swan. Bewick is buried in the churchyard of the village of Ovingham, on the north side of the Tyne opposite the town of Prudder, to the east of Mickley. Prudder Castle. Prudder means the proud hill spur, and the hill of this description is the site of the impressive ruins of the Norman Prudder Castle. Dating from 1173, Prudder Castle is thought to have the oldest castle keep in Northumberland. The castle was originally built by the powerful Umfraville family, to whom the barony was bestowed by William the Conqueror. The castle's founder was O'Donnell de Umfraville, and built between 1162 and 1182. It perhaps occupied the site of an earlier stronghold. In 1173, the castle successfully withstood an attack by the Scottish King William the Lion, who returned to Scotland. He besieged the castle again the following year, but found it considerably strengthened. He then turned north to besiege Alnwick, where he was captured and subsequently imprisoned in Normandy. Around 1381, Prudder passed by marriage from the Umfravilles to the Percys, who owned it until it was confiscated from them due to a rebellion, in the reign of Henry IV. It was returned to the Percy family during the reign of Henry VI, but was confiscated again by Edward IV because of their support for the Lancastrian cause. However, it came back into Percy hands once again, later passing to their successors, the Dukes of Northumberland. Today the castle is the property of English Heritage. It claims to be the only medieval castle in Northumberland that was never captured by the Scots. Along with Hexham, Prudder is one of the 2 largest Northumberland towns in the Tyne Valley, though Prudder's growth has more to do with the historic influence of coal mining in the neighbourhood, and its proximity to Tyneside than its medieval importance. Eltringham on the western edge of Prudder, towards Mickley Square and Cherburn, has an Anglo-Saxon name. Eltringham also gave rise to the northeast surname from a family who once lived here. The oldest part of Prudder village is that which lies along South Road. But it is with coal mining that Prudder grew. The neighbouring West Wylam Colliery was established in the 1860s and was still going until 1961. West Wylam is part of Prudder, and should not be confused with Wylam across the river to the northeast. Ovingham. Immediately opposite Prodder, on the north side of the Tyne is Ovingham, which is linked to Prodder by a bridge. It is an attractive village with a church and dedicated to St. Mary, with a late Saxon tower. Inside the church are fragments of a Saxon cross. The place name Ovingham is Anglo-Saxon and means homestead of the family or followers of Offa. The vicarage south of the churchyard is 14th century and was built to house 3 Augustinian canons from Hexham Abbey. Thomas Buick, who is buried in the churchyard at Ovingham, was educated at the Ovingham Vicarage. Ovingham is noted for an annual event of fun and frivolity called the Ovingham Goose Fair, which has its roots in the 13th century. However, in recent years the scheduling of the fair has been disrupted by other events, including repair works to Ovingham Bridge. Roman settlement of Caustopetrum. The Roman settlement of Caustopetrum, which dates from AD 79, was located half a mile west of the present settlement of Corbridge. The site was chosen where the north-south Deer Street crossed the River Tyne, before meeting the east-west Stane Gate that linked military forts along Hadrian's Wall. The mainly civilian settlement lasted until the Romans left Britain about AD 400. The large excavated site, with its fine museum, is now looked after by English Heritage. The Saxons. The Saxons built the settlement of Corbridge, above the level of river flooding and where there was a water supply, to St. Andrew's Well, and where the Tyne now without a bridge, it became fordable. St. Andrew's Church was probably founded in 674, where its Saxon tower still remains. Originally the main door was at the western end facing Caustopetrum, and the nave was entered under a Roman arch, taken in its entirety from the Roman site. The 13th century. By the beginning of the 13th century, Corbridge had entered its golden age. It began with a visit by King John, who in 1201 granted a charter allowing a weekly market. Already by that time, there was the annual Stackshaw Fair, where twice annually over 100,000 cattle, sheep and horses from all over Britain changed hands. Trade brought wealth, and a new bridge over the Tyne was built. St. Andrew's Church was extended on 5 occasions and 3 sister churches were built. By 1295, when 2 Corbridgians were chosen to attend Edward I's Parliament, Corbridge was the second largest and wealthiest settlement in Northumberland. This all changed in 1296, when a band of Scottish earls destroyed the bridge, the 3 churches and left St. Andrews in ruins. Further raids by the Scots, including those by William Wallace in 1297, and Robert the Bruce in 1312 and followed by the Black Death in 1349, left the village in extreme poverty, which lasted several centuries. Evidence of these impoverished and unruly times can be seen by the King's Oven, a communal food kitchen located by a plaque in the wall of the church, and the building of the Vicar's Palais, both in about 1310. Signs of a recovery began with the building of the present road bridge in 1674. It was to be the only bridge in the Tyne Valley to survive the 1771 flood, and in the early 18th century, there are still existing stone-built houses and streets leading from the marketplace. By the 19th century, many cottage industries had been set up. These included weaving with over 30 spinning wheels in the village, and shoe and clog makers, and the latter were made for coal miners as well as fishermen. The village growth continued with the opening in 1835 of the Hexham to Newcastle Railway, one of the first in the world to carry passengers. A postcard of Middle Street in 1900 shows shop frontages and a skyline identical to that of today. It's been this ability to keep its old-fashioned appearance, avoiding modern redevelopment, and national chain stores that makes present-day Corbridge so distinctive and popular. This has also been achieved by such community organizations as the Village Trust, which celebrated its 50th year in 2015. The Heritage Trust has helped link places of historic interest in and around the village. and Corbridge in Bloom has won gold medals in each of the last 3 years. St. Andrew's Church. Set in the marketplace at the very heart of the village, St. Andrew's is a beautiful, historic and welcoming church. Christians have worshipped on this site since 670, when St. Wilfrid founded the monastery. The church is famous for its Saxon tower and Roman arch at the west end of the church framing the font. Much of the present interior dates from the 13th century. Printed guide sheets for visitors are available in a variety of languages. St. Andrew's is not only an inspiring building but home to an active and friendly worshipping community, sustaining a vibrant program of services and events. As a parish church of the Church of England, it seeks to minister to the whole community. The church is open every day between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m., and are delighted to welcome visitors to Corbridge. People from near and far are drawn here by its strong spiritual presence. Many have commented on the beauty and peacefulness of the building and come to sit for a while to pray, to light a candle, and to remember a loved one. The church provides a wide range of services, from the Book of Common Prayer and Common Worship to more informal services at the monthly gatherings for messy church and all-age worship. Morning and evening prayer are said in church on most days of the year. The staff aspire to offer worship of a high standard, using a wide range of worship texts and music, with lively preaching and engaged intercession. The church has a diverse congregation, including Christians from a variety of traditions. They are passionate about sharing God's love and following Jesus Christ as his disciples. The staff are delighted to welcome everyone into their building and into the church life. The fact that the doors are open every day is a symbol that being open and accepting, and above all, a friendly church community, where the staff hope you will be inspired by your visit. The Roman Tower Arch. In the early 12th century, Henry I gave the church to his chaplain Richard de Revel, who was probably responsible for rebuilding the earlier Saxon building and inserting the present Norman doorway. Around the doorway the stones are stained pink, said to be the result of fire when the church and much of the town was set ablaze during a raid by William Wallace in 1296. At the west end of the church is a Saxon window, and you can still see the original Saxon entrance in the west wall of the tower. Entry to the church is through a 12th century Norman doorway, decorated with traditional Norman zigzag moulding. Over the porch is an 11th century belfry tower. The chancel dates to the 13th century. Like the nave aisles and the transepts, it was built using stones from Caerstapietum. The chancel arch dividing the nave and chancel is also 13th century, in early English style. In the north transept are several old memorial stones, but the most interesting carved stone is found under the first window, on the left-hand side. Here you can see a carving of a pair of shears, indicating the burial place of a woman. Medieval carving of shears. At the north end of the transept is a 13th century carved grave slab set under a niche. The inscription reads, Hic jacet, in terris Aslini filius Hugo, which translates as, Here in the earth lies Hugo son of Aslin. In the south transept are several carved stone fragments, including an inscribed stone carved, with part of a phrase translating as Here lies Eric. In the churchyard is the Vicar's Pele, a fortified tower built in the 14th century to protect the church and the vicar against Scottish raiders. Like the church itself, the Vicar's Pele is built using stones from Corbridge Roman fort. It stands 3 stories high, with an internal staircase between floors. During Scottish raids, cattle could be brought into the ground floor chamber. The middle floor was then used as living quarters and the top floor for defense. Beside the Vicar's Pele is the medieval market cross, set in a base made from a Roman altar stone. Outside the west end of the churchyard is the King's Oven, a communal bread oven that dates to the early 14th century. As St. Andrew's exudes a sense of history, it's well worth seeking out. a destination of distinction. This is one original and surprising village or small town. Some of the oldest finds in Britain, including a rare Roman armor, and the Corbridge line, can be found in the English Heritage Roman town, where you can see a time capsule of Roman life inside the newly refurbished museum and explore the remains of the streets they once walked, all just a few miles away from the World Heritage Site of Hadrian's Wall itself and the popular coast-to-coast Hadrian's Wall path. Corbridge is also known for its large number of independent businesses. The present-day marketplace has a baker, art shop, traditional grocer and more, including award-winning Forum Books Close at the Chapel, a stunning transformation of the old Methodist chapel, complete with preserved pulpit, along with vintage at the tower. Across the village, there are acclaimed independent clothes and shoe shops for fans of fashion, featuring top brands, as well as beauticians and hairdressers. For foodies, there are many indie cafes, several historic pubs, a deli, a butcher and a wine bar, plus a range of Italian, Indian and English restaurants. There is much more to discover, including jewelers, a baby at a bank, a cook shop and garden room and florists. There is also furniture stores, plus interior design shops and antique and vintage emporiums. Several are regularly featured on national TV, including magazines and newspapers both in the UK and across the world. You can also find excellent hotels and B&Bs to stay in with a range of self-catering accommodation. Within 1 hour's drive. The Romans knew a thing or two about location, so you will find Corbridge very accessible, at the crossroads of the east-west Newcastle to Carlisle A69 road, and the north-south Edinburgh to Darlington A68 road. Corbridge railway station is on the Tyne Valley line between Newcastle, Hexham and Carlisle, with connections to both the East Coast and West Coast main lines. While Corbridge has an excellent bus service, including express buses to and from Newcastle, and the Newcastle Airport is just a short drive or taxi ride away. Hexham and its Abbey and Old Jail are just a few miles west of Corbridge, Newcastle and Carlisle, and the shopping mall Metro Centre can easily be reachable by car or public transport. The magical moorlands and wilderness of the Scottish borders, peppered with explorable historic market towns, are close by. The Eden Valley with the Lake District's stunning scenery, our day trip territory, Kielder's unique observatory, in the Northumberland International Dark Sky Park, with both Chester's Roman Fort and Museum, Housted's Roman Fort, and Vinderlande being closer. Secret streets and courtyards. There is something Dickensian about the secret streets and courtyards of Corbridge, where you never know what is around the next corner. Back streets like St. Helens must be explored with bishops and old bakery yards. Visit the Pelé Tower by St. Andrew's Church in the marketplace, which is now a pub styled on the historic Game of Thrones, which must be experienced to be believed. St. Andrew's Church itself is one of the oldest churches in Britain, and open to all visitors every day. The bridge, the oldest surviving over the Tyne, looks over lovely river walks. While Aden Castle is a short drive or an interesting walk away. Eat and drink. In Corbridge, you're spoilt for choice for great places to eat and drink in Corbridge, where you can find some of the best pubs, cafes and coffee shops in the region. Here are some examples. Broxbush's Farm Shop. Broxbush's has evolved over the last 25 years, from an acre of soft fruit with a tiny farm shop, which was open for 8 weeks in the year, to a thriving retail centre, with an award-winning farm shop, tea room and pick-your-own and a garden gift centre, along with plenty of free parking. Currently they're open all year round, 7 days a week. On the farm they have about 35 acres of soft fruit, which is open during the summer months. There are 2 acres of asparagus, which they cut to sell in their farm shop in the spring. The fundamental policy of Broxbush's is to provide freshness and quality, and a choice in every department to give their customers a pleasurable day out. Whether they are selecting their groceries from their varied and delicious selection in the shop, treating themselves in the tea room, picking their fresh fruit in the fields, or choosing the plants for their gardens or gifts for their friends, they're all a part of the Broxbushers experience. As they are a food premises, unfortunately they do not allow dogs, except for guide dogs. However, they do allow you to use their grass car park for dog walking. Corbridge Larder. Welcome to the Corbridge Larder Delicatessen and Coffee Shop, who have been purveyors of fine food for over 30 years. Offering a fine selection of British and continental foods, but majoring on local products and local producers. In the modern supermarket age, the Corbridge Larder Deli and Coffee Shop stands for good old-fashioned values, and the quality of their food is the key to their success. They have a huge range of quality fine foods which include cheese, pies and quiche, deli salads, jams and marmalade, honey chutneys, pickle sauces, dried fruit, biscuits, cakes, flour and baking essentials, tea, ready meals, herbs and spices, food gifts, hampers, cooking ingredients and essentials like local milk and eggs. Their coffee shop only showcases the products which they sell, and the menu includes sandwiches, paninis, pies, quiches, scones, soup, deli platters. Their drinks include a great cup of coffee made with Pumphrey's, with roasted beans, tea, fraps, and smoothies. Being fully licensed, you can also enjoy a local beer or a glass of wine. The Corbridge Larder stock 100 continental British and local cheeses. The Corbridge shop has also won awards for its cheese selection, featuring local cheeses from the Northumberland Cheese Company and Doddington Dairy. Corbridge Tandoori. Established almost 30 years ago, the Corbridge Tandoori has a reputation for high-quality service and a delicious, authentic Bangladeshi cuisine, made with fresh and local ingredients. Their knowledge of flavors and spices, along with some unique recipes, ensure you will be delighted with every dish. Dine in the stylish restaurant, or if you prefer, you can experience mouth-watering Bangladeshi cuisine in your own home, as Corbridge Tandoori have an extensive takeaway menu as well. Welcome to the Divals Inn, Corbridge. A small country pub brimming with character, and its traditional interior provides instant appeal to local residents and visitors alike. A jewel in the crown of Corbridge hotels. They are currently serving food 12 to 3 p.m. and 6 to 9 p.m. Monday to Saturday, then 12 to 4 p.m. on Sundays. Situated within walking distance from Corbridge train station and the Tynedale rugby grounds. The pub lies on the outskirts of the town centre, and the nearest tourist attraction, the Roman Wall. But what really makes this pub stand out is its large bay garden. With 4 comfortable en-suite rooms which are available at reasonable prices, there is no question this pub will provide an enjoyable break in the countryside. Situated in a rural area, the Divals Inn provides a friendly service and a welcoming atmosphere. Massey's Tea Room. Breakfast, lunch and tea are served 7 days a week from 9 a.m. till 4:30 p.m. Massey's Tea Room is a small traditional tea room in the heart of Corbridge, specializing in local products of exceptional quality. Their dedicated staff create their signature dishes each day in a newly refurbished kitchen, including a variety of scones in selected flavors and sizes. Selections from their seasonal menu include homemade soup, locally farmed sausages, sandwiches freshly made to order, using bread unique to Massey's, and their homemade afternoon teas are available in 3 sizes to satisfy all appetites. Massey's are always trying to give visitors their total attention, in the hope this commitment to customer care will result in satisfaction and the desire to return to Corbridge. Massey's appreciate appetites that vary by providing in menu choices and portion sizes. Special dietary requirements are also acknowledged, and so gluten-free and dairy-free items are permanently available. During busy periods, it is possible to reserve a table, and their gift vouchers represent a kind gesture to family and friends. Sycamore Corbridge. Exceptional local food created in the beautiful village of Corbridge, Northumberland. Sycamore use local ethical and sustainability accredited suppliers, with no more than 70 miles radius to Sycamore. Northumberland has some world-class food suppliers, and the menu is adjusted daily to reflect the best available seasonal produce. Every time you visit Sycamore, there is the opportunity to enjoy something new. Sycamore is currently open for breakfast and brunch, including lunch and dinner. The Angel of Corbridge. The Angel of Corbridge is a traditional Northumbrian pub, which is steeped in history, with great British hearty pub grub, real ales, roaring log fires, and dog-friendly dining. There is takeaways also available. When it's cold outside, inside we'll have the fire on, so you can relax and keep warm in the lounge. And when it's warmer, the south-facing outside seating is a great place to watch the world go by, with a nice cold beer or two. Enjoy a book in the lounge with a nice glass of wine, local ale or one of many great whiskies, or even dine with man's best friend in the lounge, after a long walk along the River Tyne or Hadrian's Wall. This season the Angel has a bigger and better beer garden, so you can dine and drink outside while enjoying the Northumberland sun. The Angel also has 10 bedrooms and an exclusive family apartment. The rooms are warm, comfortable, and can include a full Northumbrian breakfast. Some of the rooms are even dog-friendly. The Bluebell. The Bluebell is a friendly local pub in the heart of Corbridge. With 200 years of history, the Bluebell is a warm, welcoming pub set in the center of the Corbridge village, with a large beer garden, heated gazebos and a dog-friendly pour station. A perfect place to relax and indulge the summer with a cool afternoon drink. On a more chilly evening, you can cozy up in front of the open fire and take in the friendly atmosphere, where you can enjoy horse racing, football and other sports, and real food at realistic prices, with live music and weekend entertainment. Local services. There's a lot going on in Corbridge. Here are some of the local services available to residents and visitors. Abbeyfield Society. Abbeyfield exists to provide the best service of supported housing for all residents and to be a champion for older people. They have been a charitable housing organisation for 60 years, and their residents are always at the heart of what they do. Central to Abbeyfield's mission is their ethos of making time for older people, as all their staff ensure that they never limit the time they spend on providing the right level of support. In Corbridge they have a lovely residence at Riverhill House. They have a dedicated staff team that has a real empathy for older people, ensuring that the house is warm, comfortable and safe. They pride themselves on their nutritious and a mixture of homemade daily meals. Their houses are very active in the local community, with connections to nearby organizations and collaborations with other good causes, meaning that there is always the option to socialize as much as you desire. They're always available for a chat or a visit. Beach Cottage Surgery. Established over 30 years ago, Beach Cottage Surgery is a private dental practice offering a wide range of treatments. From routine dental care to restorative and cosmetic dentistry, Beach Cottage provides a comprehensive service of the highest quality from a skilled and passionate team of professionals. To help patients budget for the cost of their dental care, they offer a flexible dental payment plan called DenPlan to patients of all ages. At Beach Cottage you can achieve a healthy and happy mouth and smile by accessing all the latest modern dental techniques. Charlotte Straker Trust. The Charlotte Straker Trust provides 5-star residential nursing and respite care to the elderly frail within Tynedale. The charitable ethos is to accept residents, even if they cannot afford to contribute fully towards the cost of their care. An inability to pay is not a bar to entry. Charlotte Straker Trust is an independent charity which has been serving the community for over 20 years. All the income is put straight back into the operation of Charlotte Straker House to provide the best possible services and meet the changing needs of our residents. They've been improving the lives of older people with their unique brand of support and care since 1992. The dedicated and well-trained team ensure that individuals living in this well-equipped and comfortable accommodation receive attention all day, where every day enhances quality of life for the elderly, frail and their care. There is now a severe shortage of respite care in the district. Hard-pressed families and carers are finding it difficult to access respite services. So in an effort to help, the Community Respite Care Bed Appeal was launched in August 2016, in order to provide a local respite service from January 2017. In April, the care home achieved a good rating in all areas by the Care Quality Commission. In addition, the home has recently been graded Level 1, scoring 127 out of 130, in the Northumberland Council Quality Weighted Payment Scheme, which inspects care home facilities and nursing standards. Charlotte Straker House provides a home for life, and they care for residents from the moment they arrive and for the rest of their lives, thereby giving security to both residents and their families. Corbridge Art Club. An old established art group based in Corbridge, but with members from many places within a radius of about 10 miles. There is a wide range of ages, interests and experience from beginners to old hands, and all are welcome. They are affiliated to the Workers' Educational Association, which provides a tutor called Graham Hodgson, who attends every monthly meeting, and to the Society for All Artists. Additional visits are also organized to galleries and to places of interest for practical artwork. They hold an annual public exhibition. All members are encouraged to exhibit their work and to offer it for sale. Membership is limited to 30, and there are currently no vacancies, but they do maintain a first-come, first-served waiting list, and there are usually several places vacant at the start of each yearly session beginning from September. Corbridge Business Centre. Corbridge Business Centre offers high-quality serviced business accommodation to the south of the River Tyne in Corbridge, with magnificent rural views across the Tyne Valley. Tinkler's Yard is within easy reach of the Corbridge railway station and less than 30 minutes away from Newcastle International Airport. Each office is available on fully inclusive flexible terms, with leases as short as 3 months. The office accommodation is located within stand-alone pavilion-style office blocks and includes 24 hours secure access, with on-site parking, reception area, fully equipped kitchen facilities, use of a meeting room, gas central heating and broadband with internet access. Virtual offices in Corbridge. Offering all the benefits of a serviced office, just without the space. A virtual office is simply a business address with a range of support services. For some businesses, it's the ideal next step in migrating from using a post office box, or a way of establishing a business presence in Northumberland. A virtual office can provide you with a registered business address to comply with statutory requirements, provide you with a range of business support, such as mail handling, telephone answering services, use of a meeting room, or office support facilities. Corbridge Cricket Club. Founded in 1886, Corbridge is 129 years old and one of the oldest cricket clubs in Northumberland. The club run 3 senior teams, 2 women's teams and a junior section for both girls and boys, covering the under 9 to under 18 age groups. They welcome new juniors of all ages and abilities. They have lots going on. Corbridge Health Centre. Corbridge Medical Group is a 5-partner GP practice based in Corbridge in Northumberland, which provides medical services to about 6,800 patients within Corbridge and the surrounding area. They dispense medication to patients living in rural areas, and are in active training practice with GPs in training, including third-year and fifth-year medical students who are attached to the practice. Corbridge in bloom. Corbridge in bloom has won prizes at county, regional and national level and keeps the village looking beautiful all year round, with wonderful displays in tubs and containers and permanent plantings at various sites. They are currently creating planting and landscaping at Milkwell Park, which is a new area near the first school. Tubs can be sponsored by businesses and other organizations where practical help through watering and weeding is always welcome. Corbridge Railway Station. Corbridge Railway Station is located on the south side of the River Tyne, next to the entrance to Tynedale Rugby Club. Corbridge Railway Station is on the Tyne Valley Line, which runs from Newcastle upon Tyne to Carlisle, and is managed by Northern Rail, who provide almost all passenger train services. The station isn't staffed, although the station buildings on the eastbound platform are still in use, as an Indian restaurant. The station has an hourly service to both Newcastle and Hexham on weekdays and Saturdays, with some evening trains continuing on to Carlisle. Many daytime eastbound trains continue to Sunderland and Middlesbrough. There is also an hourly service each way on Sundays, with all trains running through to Carlisle. Corbridge Tennis Club. Corbridge Tennis Club has 3 all-weather floodlit courts and provides the opportunity for everybody in Corbridge to play tennis regardless of age, experience or ability. Corbridge Tennis Club came into being with massive support from the Sport England Inspired Fund, including Northumberland County Council, the Community Foundation, Corbridge Women's Institute, Corbridge Parish Council, many individual supporters and sponsors, and the cooperation of Tynedale Rugby Club. Corbridge United Junior Football Club. Corbridge United Junior Football Club have been associated with Corbridge United Football Club for much of its 130-year history. They hold a FA Charter Standard Community Club status, and in 2005 they were awarded the Northumberland FA Regional Club of the Year. They have around 250 youngsters from ages 6 through to under 17s, and play mini soccer, and 11-a-side in the West Division and in the NABC leagues. They have also a team playing in the Northumberland Under-21s League, hoping to bring senior football back to the village after many years. French Beauty Lounge. Sally, who discovered the potential of a boutique salon over 26 years ago. The founder of French Beauty Lounge, Sally French, offers a wide variety of treatments to suit everyone's needs, from nails and waxing to facials and massage, plus many more. In Corbridge there is a variety of shops to choose from. Here is an example of what to expect. Acanthus. Acanthus is a treasure trove of fabulous giftware, including jewelry with ideas for the home. From fragrances to soft furnishings and scented candles and cosmetics, there is something for every occasion. You will also discover a wide range of eclectic and interesting items. Acanthus is a well-known destination for choosing a special gift for a loved one or seeking the perfect cushion for your favorite chair. There's plenty to discover. Chapter 38. Chapter 38 is the latest ladies' boutique to open in Corbridge, selling a wide range of clothing for every age, style and budget. They sell everything from loungewear to occasion wear, and their brands have been carefully selected not just to offer quality but also sustainability. Corbridge Garden Room. Established in 2012, the Garden Room is a family-run business specializing in an eclectic range of hand-picked gifts, homeware and garden accessories. Situated in the heart of the village just off the market square, the shop is packed full of unique and interesting items, something for everyone. The garden room offers a warm welcome, and the creative vision of the staff will ensure you have all the assistance you require. At Corbridge Garden Room you'll find inspiration for special occasions and tempting treats for you and your home, with a lovely selection of cards to accompany any gift. Craftworks Gallery. Just by the bridge in Corbridge in an old blacksmith's forge is a beautiful art, craft and gift shop. Established for 12 years, they now have a loyal following of customers, not just locals but from all over the country, and even the world. They showcase a wide range of arts and crafts for your family, your friends and your home, with many of the items handmade in Northumberland. The range covers everything from jewelry to doorstops and occasional furniture, to original art, and locally made chocolates to handmade ceramics. Forum Books. Forum Books is situated on the marketplace in the heart of the village, and has been part of Corbridge life for around 40 years. Eclectic, original and endlessly enthusiastic about the printed word, its stocks are hand-picked with an eye-popping range of beautiful books. Shorts of Corbridge. Shorts is well established in Corbridge and offers fashionable clothes for men for all seasons and occasions. Vintage at the Tower. Vintage at the Tower is a hidden gem in the Corbridge crown of independent shops. Take a stroll from the marketplace up the side of the churchyard, and you will find this shop full of sustainable vintage fashion and homeware. Where to stay in Corbridge. Find Corbridge hotels, pubs, B&Bs, and some gorgeous self-catering cottages and apartments. You're spoilt for choice when looking for where to stay in Corbridge. Here are just a few examples. Ridge House Cottages. An idyllic choice for those who enjoy being a gentle stroll from the many amenities Corbridge has to offer, and the perfect base for exploring the vast expanse of Hadrian's Wall country. Ridge House Cottages are located next to the bridge by the banks of the River Tyne, with stunning views and a 3-tier terraced garden leading down to the river. The accommodation is located in the heart of the picturesque village of Corbridge, renowned for its charming shops selling everything from fashion to gifts. There are also quaint tea rooms and several restaurants and pubs. Only 3 miles west is the popular market town of Hexham, which is dominated by its majestic abbey. It offers many facilities including a cinema and theatre, indoor swimming pool, and several prestigious golf courses close by. This is Hadrian's Wall country, an area of rich heritage to explore. Vindolanda and Housted's Roman Fort Museum are both interesting local attractions. It is a walkers' and cyclists' paradise with miles of wild and beautiful countryside to discover. Visit the Northumberland Heritage Coast, famous for its golden unspoilt beaches and castles, or take a trip across the causeway to legendary Lindisfarne that's steeped in history. Bamborough and Annika both within easy reach of Corbridge. The vibrant city of Newcastle, renowned for its global cultural pursuits and the extensive shopping facilities at the Metro Centre, offer an abundance of attractions. Easy access to the Northumberland National Park as well as the Scottish borders and the Lake District. It also has golf and fishing nearby. Felcroft B&B. A warm welcome is guaranteed at the 4-star rated Felcroft Bed and Breakfast. Ideally placed in Hadrian's Wall country, the B&B is in a superb location for walkers, cyclists, and explorers alike. Guests can take advantage of the extensive breakfast on offer with local fresh produce, which is perfect to start the day with. Felcroft caters for families, and dogs are very welcome. With ample parking and free Wi-Fi, you will be delighted to have discovered the Felcroft B&B. Mr. Fogg's Village Hideaway. This luxury self-catering cottage lies in the center of the village, 250 meters from the market square. Behind its 17th century stone facade, it has been exquisitely refurbished and is now a tranquil haven for discerning individuals. Original artwork hangs on every wall, and carefully selected fabrics enhance the relaxed atmosphere. It is perfect for two people wanting a discreet Northumbrian hideaway within walking distance of Corbridge's fashionable pubs, shops, and restaurants. The second double bedroom can be used for two accompanying guests or up to 2 children. If you enjoy the video, please like and subscribe to my channel. I hope you will come back again, as more videos will be uploaded soon. And thank you for your interest.